To start this particular session, we are going to see the electronic devices presence in various industries, and we will see the structural integrity test by making use of SolidWorks simulation, that is finite element analysis solutions. And then we will see the thermal management design by making use of CFD solutions, by making use of electronic cooling. And now and we will conclude this by with some customer references. They are already using our SolidWorks solutions. And just to have a quick look at the presence of electronic devices across various industry verticals. I have taken this particular survey from 2019, where if you just observe the electronic device presence is everywhere. I mean, in every industry verticals, right from healthcare to automotive to industrial equipments, aerospace and defense, IT and telecom, power and energy, consumer electronics. And if you name any of the industry verticals today, the electronic devices, always present in each and every industry verticals. And now just have a look at the electronic device in the Indian market from last 5 years, from 2015 to 2020. If you see, there is a huge percentage increase in terms of usage of these electronic devices in all the industries, let it be automotive industry, consumer electronics, medical electronics, mobile devices, IoT devices. I mean, so many things. I mean, a lot of electronic devices are being used in all these industry verticals, has been drastically increased to a great extent. Therefore, it is very much important for all of us to design an electronic device which is very much efficient and very much competitive in the market, and we will reach these electronic devices right. I mean, in a right time is always very much important. Okay, with that brief introduction about the electronic device market, and we will see today what we are going to address by making use of SolidWorks simulation and flow simulation. If we just observe various design challenges that we we come across in terms of a structural integrity based on the application. Maybe it is a defense application, industrial equipment application, healthcare, consumer electronics. The structural integrity is always very much important to validate the functionality of our the electronic device that we design, because these electronic devices have to work under severe working environmental conditions where they may experience a lot of humidity, a lot of thermal events, a lot of vibrations, and many other aspects. So, and the placement of this entire electronic component and electronic devices in the main assembly, it is always very much challenging. And the cooling methodologies that we adopt in terms of maintaining the optimal temperature inside the electronic enclosure that we design, and the technical knowledge to design a smaller and smaller products. Basically, today a lot of people talk about optimization, and to have a compact electronic device with a proper cooling methodologies is always very challenging there, and the technical knowledge is very much important. The durability, reliability, of course, are major factors in terms of understanding the efficiency of the electronic device, and the environmental regulations delivering the electronics projects on time on budget is very much challenging as far as electronic device designs are concerned. And moving forward, let's see what are the basic failure modes, what are the major failure modes in the electronic devices. If you just observe this particular graph, where the majority of our electronic device will fail because of thermal events. If you just observe the 55% of entire electronic device failure mode is because of thermal events. So because all the electronic devices have a lot of heat generating elements, and the cooling methodology design has to be very much optimal in terms of avoid the failure of their components with this overheating, and also the humidity, the vibrations, because especially for defense application, aerospace application, automotive applications, the vibrations are always very much important a part of the electronic device design. So basically, to sum it up, the excessive deflection of PCB, structural failure due to excess deformations, the overheating of the components, and a solder joint fatigue failure, loose hardware. These are the main the failure modes that we see in terms of electronic device failures. And today we will see how can we do this particular structural integrity test for electronic device by making use of SolidWorks simulations, where we will see how do we take the static loading into consideration. Then we will move to the vibrations, because the vibrations and the eigenvalues, response spectrum, harmonic vibrations, random vibrations, shock vibrations, then the thermal loading. Okay, these are all basically very much important in terms of understanding the structural integrity of the electronic devices. Okay, and to just give a small structural integrity test, that is basically a vibrations test that we do in our physical the physical testing of all the vibrations for this particular electronic devices. Here is one of the example which we have taken for a military application, where the accelerometer that is being used for understanding the vibration behavior of this entire electronic device in a physical lab. Okay, and the reason why I'm showing this is because the same virtual conditions can be simulated inside SolidWorks simulation. That is basically a virtual testing in all the different axes. We can provide all the excitations, and then we can observe dynamic stresses, dynamic deformations, accelerations, and many other aspects that we get it from well within the well within the new product development process. Then just to give a brief introduction about the various standards, especially for vibration analysis of electronic devices for military applications or automotive applications. The type of vibrations, I mean shock vibration, random vibrations, harmonic vibrations, a response spectrum, they have to have a different excitation, right? The shock vibration will be having an excitation in terms of acceleration with half sine wave, and also sometimes it will be having a terminal sawtooth for a very short period of time. That is basically shock vibration. And here are the major test standards. If you see military standard 810G, IEEE, IEC, I mean IEC, and 60068 to basically for automotive application, and some of the ISO standards. I mean, based on these standards, you can always give the excitations, to understand the dynamic behavior. And coming to the random vibration is basically a non-deterministic one, where we have to provide the excitation in terms of a power spectral density curve, acceleration, spectral density, and GRMS values that that are being basically going to be the input excitation for random vibrations. And again, the similar standards for military application, automotive application, aerospace applications can be taken into consideration for understanding the behavior of your entire electronic device under the influence of random vibrations. And in a similar manner, harmonic vibrations response spectrum. In the harmonic vibrations, basically the excitation curve is a deterministic one, that is basically having the sinusoidal curve. That is, the excitation curve is basically function of a sine. So the difference between random and harmonic is basically, whereas in random vibration we are seeing the non-deterministic curve, and harmonic we are going to see a deterministic one. And the response spectrum is something where if two bodies are meeting their natural frequencies, and how they will resonate, what is the sudden raise in the peak, can be estimated from response spectrum, or a spectral range of entire excitation frequency. And with that, brief introduction, and here are some of the frequency and acceleration for different applications, especially if you are using these electronic devices for ships and submarines. The frequency range is between 1 to 50, and the acceleration level is 1 to 3G acceleration. And similarly for automobile, aeroplanes, helicopters, missiles, you can just see the variation of frequency range and the acceleration range. These are the things we have to keep in mind in terms of understanding the dynamic behavior of our basically the electronic devices that we design for different applications. Moving further, today I'm going to take this particular electronic device into consideration. This is being used in military applications and aerospace applications. where we are going to see how exactly we can make use of SolidWorks simulation to understand the dynamic behavior. First of all, we are going to do a steady state acceleration and acceleration for a military standard, shock vibration, random vibration, and harmonic vibration for understanding the structural integrity of our structures. I mean, this particular electronic device. Let us start with acceleration analysis. I mean, here in the acceleration analysis, as I said, the military standard basically tells that the direction, that is a positive and negative z direction, positive and negative y direction, and the lateral direction, that is x, both the positive and negative. It has to be tested in all six direction under the given acceleration range. This is basically standard under which this device have to be tested, because these things are going to be used in military applications like this. Okay, let us take a quick look at SolidWorks. How can we make use of this inside SolidWorks? And basically, this is a graphic user interface of SolidWorks where we build a 3D model, assembly, 2D manufacturing, drawing, and everything. And when it comes to design validation, that is SolidWorks simulation is just add-on to your existing CAD systems. That means to say there is no need for you to switch between the windows for doing this simulation and for doing the 3D modeling. All these things will happen in a single platform. That is the biggest advantage of having CAD integrated CAE and CFD solutions. Okay, without further delay, we will just see how can we take this analysis, wherein we just have to create a new study and select a linear static for this, steady state acceleration analysis. All we need to do is we just have to provide a material properties, and again, SolidWorks has a good material database where we find all the commonly used engineering materials in terms of all the properties like elastic modulus, Poisson's ratio, mass density, yield strength. And this library can also be customized in terms of adding your own properties. Let's say, for example, you are using a customized material, you can always customize this particular material, and you can add your own values, the important values, that is elastic modulus, Poisson's ratio, mass density, and yield strength, right? And next is basically the application of contact definition. Here, when it comes to contact definition, SolidWorks understands components which they are having face-to-face contact. It will directly assume them as a bonded connections, and if in case if you want to define a local connections can also be defined by making use of local connections in terms of a bonded connections, in terms of a no penetration contact, and many other solutions while defining these connections. The next step is basically understanding the degrees of freedom needs to be fixed. In this particular application, these are basically mounting holes onto the main assembly. So I am going to choose this mounting holes, and I will arrest all 6 degrees of freedom by making use of a fixed boundary condition here. Then, as I said, I have to apply different G values. Here I am applying the G value that is in Z, positive Z direction. Basically, this is a 9G, 9G acceleration test I'm doing. That is basically a steady state acceleration test in the negative Z direction here. And after doing that, here the mesh creation, the finite element model, the automatic mesh is being created with all tetrahedral elements. There is no need for you to do a manual meshing for all the components. However, it has a capability in terms of applying local mesh controls to have a fine mesh in a critical zone of this particular assembly. And once after running this analysis, we have excellent post-processing functionalities in terms of understanding how much deformation is coming due to this applied acceleration, or even other static load. If you have in terms of deformations, you can always measure it. Here is a deformation plot with a cut section. You can just see how exactly the deformation is happening, because I'm giving the the load is in the z directions, and you can just see the maximum deformation is coming in that direction. Especially this acts like a a cantilever beam. That is why the free end is experiencing more deformations, and even the, inside components how they are deforming, and you can directly take how PCB is deforming, and based on that you can decide whether your deformation is under acceptable limit or not. Those things can be calculated by making use of these post-processing parameters. In a similar manner, you can calculate the deformations, as I said, and also in terms of a stress plot, you can understand how exactly the stress is coming, especially because this is being fixed, and obviously the stress concentrations are more in these locations. This is due to applied acceleration in x direction, and in a similar manner we can apply load in y direction, and we can understand. See, this is a direction. If you can just see the deformation is coming in this directions. Based on your given a direction of acceleration, you can just observe how much deformation and what is the direction of deformations. And similarly, in z direction that we have just seen inside SolidWorks, you can just have a look at it here. The maximum stresses that are being developed due to this 9g acceleration is basically 17 megapascal, and you can just compare this 17 megapascal with the yield strength value of the components, and then you can just calculate the factor of safety under this acceleration test. And in a similar manner, you can just see the deformations, and with the animations, the proper animations gives an idea whether your applied boundary conditions are proper or not. Those things can be visualized by making use of this beautiful deformation plots. And then to quickly sum it up on the acceleration test in the x directions, we observe these many stresses, like in terms of 2.2 megapascal is in x direction, in y direction 4.8, and z direction it is 17.4. It's quite obvious because in the z direction, as per the standards, the acceleration value was 9g compared to x and y, that was more, and even the deformations are also more. So I am showing you only three directions here, and it always requires you to do it in negative x direction, negative y direction, and negative z direction as well. So totally six analysis have to be done in terms of understanding the structural integrity of your structure under this steady state acceleration. And moving further, whenever we are using these particular electronic devices in defense applications, it is always very much important for us to understand the vibration behavior of our components. First of all, we have to understand the natural frequencies that we can understand by making use of a modal analysis, where we will calculate the eigenvalues of our structure, that is basically the natural frequency of our structure, and we will understand the mass participation factor in terms of deciding on the how many modes that we have to extract in terms of proceeding further for your forced vibration analysis. Basically, the modal analysis helps you in terms of understanding the natural frequencies and calculation of eigenvalues. And let's take a quick look at that inside SolidWorks, where we can just, just like linear static analysis, we just have to create a frequency analysis here. Inside frequency analysis, all we need to do is we just have to define how many modes we are going to extract. Initially, I will take a 25, and then we have to just provide a boundary conditions like I did before in a static analysis, that is the fixed locations. This is the mounting holes that are being fixed, and the moment you run the analysis, you will be able to calculate eigenvalues here that are basically a natural frequency of our structure. All the 25 modes, 25 eigenvalues for this particular structures have been calculated by making use of the post-processing functionality. Here you can see the first fundamental frequency is 321 hertz, and the following frequencies are 583, 775, 1294, and up to 25. It will basically calculate your natural frequencies. And I have captured the results in terms of understanding the mode shapes here. The first three eigenvalues I have captured here with the mode shape. That is the mode shape at 321 hertz, at 583 hertz and 775 hertz. So these are the direction under which they are having their mode shapes. And now the next question comes is the external excitations, that is in terms of harmonic or in terms of random, in terms of a shock vibration, response spectrum, and many other aspects. And again, as I briefed in my previous slides, in harmonic vibrations, we have to follow a certain a standard for military application. This particular electronic enclosure has to be subjected for harmonic vibrations under a given level of functional qualification test as per MIL STD 810G. This is the standard for harmonic that I have considered for this particular applications. And what the same thing, we have to make use of the frequency analysis, and we just have to copy that to the harmonic analysis, where we have to provide this particular excitation curve with a given input, like we have to constrain all degrees of freedom like we did it in frequency. Then we have to provide an excitation curve with the operating frequency range and the damping ratio. The damping ratio is always very much important in dynamic analysis, because all the material that we use for our application has their own damping properties. So the damping ratio also has to be taken into consideration for better understanding the behavior of response. Let me just take a quick look here inside SolidWorks, where we just have to create a harmonic study, and then we have to provide the excitation curve here based on the given standard, that is military standard. I will just show you the excitation curve, and you can just see this is the excitation curve for a 20G acceleration based on this MIL standard, and then we can understand the value of deformations. In the z directions, if I apply that excitation, especially the deformation, the PCB exactly at the center is experiencing more deformations. Okay, and in a similar manner, you can observe how the stresses are building up in the fixed locations. Those are always very much important factors to be understood under the application of this excitation. And the most important thing in harmonic vibration is this particular thing here. If you just see this particular curve, if you observe this is exactly suddenly rising here. The deformation value is suddenly rising here because it is exactly at 329 hertz. The 329 hertz is basically the first frequency. The moment the excitation frequency is matching with that 325 hertz, we are observing the sudden raise in terms of deformation value, and this is true for acceleration and stress values also. So as a designer, we have to keep it in mind that this particular raise in a sudden raise in value has to be as minimum as possible. And how do we do that? Is by redesigning our components, that is basically by redistributing the mass, by reorientation of the component, and increasing the stiffness. We can always reduce this peak as much as possible to avoid the failure of our components due to the matching of this frequencies. And in a similar manner, we can perform a random vibration analysis. As I said, in the random vibration analysis, the excitation curve is not deterministic. It is not periodic or deterministic. Here, the excitation curves are given with the help of a power spectral density curves like this, under the certain range of operation by making use of various standards. Okay, again, I am using the same standard for all the vibration analysis here. Okay, the similar inputs and similar procedure has to be followed here. All degrees have to be constraints, and then we have to provide an excitation curve like this. The frequency range is here 0 to 2000 hertz, because this particular curve demands that particular frequency range. And then we have assumed the damping ratio of 5% here for all the materials that we have used for all the modes that we have extracted. And then if we solve this particular analysis in the x direction, the x excitation, that is in this particular lateral axis, and then we can observe the value of stresses, value of deformations, with the animations, you can just see how the values are changing. Again, here exactly at 329 hertz, that is our first natural frequencies, where the sudden raise in value of von Mises stress and sudden raise in terms of a displacement values are observed. So this is always very much important in terms of avoiding the failure of our electronic devices under the influence of vibrations. Okay, and in a similar way, we have calculated in y directions. In the y directions also you can observe, and in the y direction, in the z direction, and all the excitation curve, I mean the resonance peaks can be observed by making use of this post processing functionalities, by making use of SolidWorks simulation. And finally, the shock vibration. Unlike other vibrations where random frequency, I mean random vibration, harmonic vibrations, basically they had the excitations with respect to frequency domain. What if your excitations is in terms of a time domain, that is time, like especially for shock vibrations in a very shorter period of time, it will basically hit the that particular peak by making use of this particular excitation curve. This is basically sawtooth pulse curve. At basically 11 milliseconds, with a 20 g acceleration, it is just hitting that range and it is suddenly coming back. Okay, with that shorter period of time also, it basically impacts the strength of our structures that we use, whether it is an electronic device or any other component. So again, the shock vibration analysis in the time domain can also be done in all the respective axes with a given acceleration value in all the directions. Okay, here just like we did excitation curve, here we have to provide it in the time domain, that is for a period of 11 milliseconds. The a terminal sawtooth excitation is being used here over given range of frequencies, and the damping properties is being given. And again, when we solve it, we'll be able to calculate the stresses and deformations, and the more uniqueness inside shock vibration is you can observe these. uh, this is exactly at 11 milliseconds if you observe properly, and only at that particular point the stresses are raising, and eventually these stresses are getting minimized because of the damping properties and the damping ratio that we have used for this particular applications. This is where you can just see how damping will help you in terms of avoiding these minimizing the intensity of these resonance peaks. This is very much useful when we are doing the vibration analysis in the time domain. Okay, and I have done the same analysis in y direction as well. In the y direction also you can observe maximum stresses, maximum deformations, and again the dampening effects can be very can be seen here in a very great manner. If you increase the steps, and your damping properties are still further amplified by making use of a further improvement in terms of a smaller time steps. And in a similar manner, the z direction values can also be seen here, because the shock vibration has to be tested in all the directions, that is x, y, and z directions. And similarly, you can observe the time history response with all the dampening effects of these vibrations. Okay. Finally, if you just see the analogy with practical testing, the same the testing can be virtually done by giving all the excitations curve inside SolidWorks simulations. This is just a small comparison between physical testing, how they will do it in practical conditions, and the same thing which we can reproduce by making use of the virtual testing. Okay. To quickly sum it up on the SolidWorks simulation dynamic analysis, where the various vibration analysis and acceleration analysis helps us in terms of understanding the dynamic behavior of our structures, in terms of understanding the dynamic stress, dynamic deformations, resonance peaks. Okay, and then in the time domain also we can understand how the damping is happening, and many other things can be calculated by making use of these dynamic analysis. And the next thing is, as I have told in my beginning of the slides, the thermal management is always very much critical for applications like electronic devices. Okay, and here in this particular, the importance of thermal management will arise because of these things. To reduce the risk of ineffective product being produced due to the overheating of the components, due to the improper cooling methodologies adopted. Where the importance of thermal management will always very much important. Okay, and the critical factors that we need to consider when we are doing the thermal simulation or the thermal management simulation is, we have to understand the behavior of the fluid. We have to understand the heat transfer behavior, that is forced convection, free convection, conduction, radiation. All these parameters have to be taken into account in terms of deciding optimal temperature inside the electronic devices. Where the computational fluid dynamics basically helps us to understand this particular fluid flow. I mean, the behavior of the fluid and the exchange of heat between the solid components and the air or fluid that is being circulated inside this particular electronic device, and measuring the proper temperature, measuring the temperature gradients, and then choosing the proper cooling methodologies. The computational fluid dynamics will be of a greater help in terms of managing the problems related to fluid dynamics and heat transfer. And SolidWorks flow simulation has an extensive electronic cooling module, where it has an extensive library for simulating the behavior of all the electronic components, or all the electronic components that we use. That might be your integrated circuit, that might be your printed circuit board, it might be your cooling fans, heat sink design, your contact resistance, thermoelectric cooler. We have the extensive library to virtually simulate the behavior of those parameters. And here some of the important libraries are in terms of a heat pipe, because today a lot of people, the electronic devices that they are designing, they have to keep their electronic device as compact as possible, and the possible methodology of cooling they will adopt is the heat pipe. And SolidWorks flow simulation helps you in terms of managing this particular thermal behavior of the heat pipes that we use in compact electronic devices. And finally, as I said, there is no electronic device, without the PCB, there will be no electronic device, right? So inside SolidWorks flow simulation and electronic cooling module, where we have the extensive library where we can define the conductive material, dielectric material, number of layers, and based on that, it basically virtually simulates the behavior of the PCB that we use it in our electronic device. And the most important parameter inside electronic cooling system is the two register component. Here, if you have the entire package of this particular integrated circuit, based on the data sheet available, by making use of the theta JC and theta JB value, that is thermal resistance from junction to board, thermal resistance from junction to case, we can directly use these values with two register component that is available inside SolidWorks flow simulation, to basically simulate the behavior of that integrated circuit. And the package level simulation is, however, that is also possible. And in terms of doing this compact module, we can make use of two register component as well. Okay. And the next thing, when it comes to a forced convection, most common methodology used is the making use of the fans, right? So in SolidWorks flow simulation, we have the capability of defining the fans with the help of a fan curves. It has a huge library where it contains all the commercially used fans for the electronic applications, where it basically provides the curve with respect to volume flow rate, and that basically creates that particular flow rate inside the electronic devices for a given gradient of the pressure. So, and if you have the physical fan, that physical fan can also be used with all the rotating region capabilities inside SolidWorks flow simulation. The most commonly used methodology in CFD analysis is by making use of a fan curves, and SolidWorks flow simulation platform provides you the easy and more effective manner in terms of defining these fan curves. Okay, with that brief introduction about SolidWorks flow simulation and electronic cooling, I would like to take you through the one of the case study on the understanding the thermal efficiency. Where if I have the compact CPU, which is basically has a printed circuit boards, there are PCB motherboard, there are RAM chips, capacitors, transistors, there is a 2 register component, heat sink, and there are cooling fans, right? The main objective of this study is to maintain a proper thermal constraints. That is, the CPU temperature should not cross 68 degrees centigrade. The integrated circuit packages that are there in this particular compact CPU should not cross a 95 degrees centigrade, and the RAM chips should not go beyond 59 degrees, degrees centigrade. And we have to choose a electronic device as compact as possible, and then we have to minimize the heat buildup inside this particular electronic enclosure that we have taken into consideration. Quickly take a look at this particular study inside SolidWorks flow simulation. Just like SolidWorks simulation, SolidWorks flow simulation is going to be one more add-on to your existing CAD system, where you can just build your flow simulation studies by making use of standard wizard driven fluid simulation setup, where we just have to provide standard setup units. What type of analysis is it is basically, this is basically internal analysis in this case, and then we have to choose the heat transfer functionalities, gravity. In case of rotating region, we can always make use of the rotations, and time dependent. Most of the time electronic devices have to be tested under transient behavior. We have the time dependent study as well. Then it is a matter of selecting the fluid that is flowing inside this electronic enclosure. Then we have the selection of solid materials, and then the most important parameter is under what environmental conditions, that is the standard temperature, standard pressure, or if you have the value of altitude, you can directly give that altitude, and based on that it will automatically calculate the value of pressures and temperature for that particular dimensions of altitude. That is about the basic setup, and after that we just have to provide certain boundary conditions. In this case, as I said, it is making use of internal fans. Okay, the first configuration is making use of the internal fans. Okay, where we just have to provide the exit and entry of the fluid inside the enclosure. And when it comes to the library, this is what I was talking about in my slides, where it basically has the all the values with respect to fan curves for all of these fans. There are various fans. These are commercially used fans for all the electronic applications. However, if you have your own fan curve, this library can be customized to meet your requirement. And again, in the second fan curves, again I will select the same procedure, and I will define other two fans here. And then I will define some thermal constraints, that is the heat generating members. Here there are four components, that is basically generating a watt up to wattage. Then I have the temperature boundary conditions here. These four components are having a 40-degree temperature, and then I have a 60-degree temperature for these components that are present in this electronic device. When it comes to thermal boundary conditions, we can provide the value in terms of a wattage or in terms of a heat generating rate, that is watt per meter cube, and we can also provide the value in terms of temperature, that is in terms of degree centigrade or in terms of degree Kelvin. Okay, next coming to the definition of integrated circuit, because I have one chip here. I'm making use of the compact module here. This is basically producing the heat of a 15 watt, and it is having certain parameters here. That is basically the value of junction to case and junction to board. Okay, those things are taken from the data sheet of this particular package, and you can always make use of this compact module to effectively simulate the behavior of that two register component. And then next, coming to the simulation of thermal behavior simulation of PCB, where what we need to do is we just have to provide properties like what is the dielectric material properties and what is the conductor material properties, and based on that it basically calculates the in-plane conductivity, through plane conductivity, effective density, effective specific heat, are always very much important. Okay, and we just have to provide the thickness of it, and then we have to provide the layer thickness, that is basically conducting layer thickness. There are 4 conducting layers in this PCB having this much thickness, and that is the percentage of a cover, that is the routing coverage, how much this copper material is being routed, and that particular layer can be taken into consideration. Instead of having that complicated PCB design, we just have to have that flat solid body here, and then we have to provide the properties, and it will take the behavior into account for for effective simulation. And in a similar manner, I will define another 2 printed circuit boards here. And after this, I have the specification of goals. That is nothing but I want to calculate what is the maximum temperature of this RAM chips, what is the maximum temperature of this main chip, that is the 2 register component that I've just defined. And similarly, I will define all other goals, not only temperature, but also you can calculate all the parameters related to fluid dynamics, that is pressure, velocity, heat transfer coefficient, turbulence intensity, so many parameters we can always calculate. And again, here it basically makes use of a finite volume meshing when it comes to meshing with basically OctreMesh. And after that, we just have to run the analysis, and we have the excellent post-processing functionalities in terms of understanding the distribution of temperature, distribution of pressure, distribution of velocity, and many other parameters with regards to fluid dynamics and thermodynamics. Okay, you can just see how with the help of cut plot you can just move this dynamically and see throughout this entire box how the temperatures, how there is an interchange of heat between the solid members and the air that is flowing inside this. Okay, and you can just see with the help of a surface plot you can always calculate other parameters. And after this, you can make use of the flow trajectories to basically dynamically visualize the circulation of air inside the electronic enclosure. You can just see these are the 3 internal fans, and how the air is being recirculated inside this enclosure, and you can also see how the heat is getting exchanged between this fluid and the solid members. And this is how basically SolidWorks simulation helps in terms of understanding the behavior of the components under the influence of various heat sources that are available in the electronic enclosure. And then obviously we can do a what if study. Let's say, for example, if I have the top slots and the bottom slots, and how it is, is it efficient in terms of removing the heat? Obviously you can just have the quick comparison here, and without the vents on the top, the temperature buildups are high, and with the vent, the temperature buildup is very less. That type of lot of what if scenarios, design of experiments, and design optimizations, so many things you can always do by making use of various functionalities that are present in SolidWorks flow simulation. And let's say, for example, instead of this internal fans, I'm going to use the external fans. All we need to do is we just have to copy the existing setup to a new configurations inside SolidWorks CAD module. The SolidWorks is having a different configurations. Here, instead of internal fans, I am defining the external fans. Okay, and again, I'm making use of the library functionalities in terms of defining all these fan curves. And if you observe here in the external fan, all the other boundary conditions, that is in terms of material properties, that is in terms of pressure boundary conditions, in terms of heat transfer boundary conditions, in terms of printed circuit board definition, two register components, goal definition, everything is copied from one configuration to other configurations. That is the advantage of having this CAD integrated CFD solution to speed up your design validation activities, especially for this electronic device designs. Okay, and then you can we have to rerun the analysis, and we have to reload the results for external analysis, external fans, and you can just compare the results between the internal and the external fan configurations. Okay, and here are the quick comparison between three configurations. The one configuration is with internal fans, the second configuration is external fans, and the third configuration is external fans plus pin fin heat sink. The heat sink is not like this here. These are the pin fin heat sink. And if I compare these results in terms of a temperature buildup or in terms of a heat buildup, you can come to this conclusion. Like let's say, for example, you have a 3 or 4 alternatives from which you have to choose the best alternative based on this heat transfer functionalities or the cooling methodologies. And SolidWorks flow simulations basically helps in terms of choosing the best design from your alternatives. To quickly sum it up on the global market leaders, those are already using SolidWorks design validations for their validation functionalities for structural strength, for thermal behavior, for heat transfer problems. These are the accepted customers globally. And here is a small list of Indian customers. They are already making use of simulation and flow simulation for their product development process. And to quickly sum it up on the solutions that we offer in terms of design validations, we have the finite element analysis solutions, which has the capability right from linear static to nonlinear static, linear dynamics to nonlinear dynamics, parametric optimization to non-parametric optimization, and then it has a buckling, fatigue, kinematics. Everything is everything is included in a single package. That is basically a finite element analysis solutions that we call it as SolidWorks simulation. And the next solution which we have is SolidWorks flow simulation. SolidWorks flow simulation has the capabilities of doing internal and external flow simulation. It has the capability of laminar and turbulent flow simulation, heat transfer functionalities, that is conduction, convection, radiation, rotating component simulation, free surface simulations with a transient flow, one-way fluid structure interaction. There is a parametric optimization and a design experiment. And coming to the electronic cooling that I have just given a brief introduction, that has a Joule heating effects, heat pipe simulation, a printed circuit board property definition, that is a 2R component definition, that is basically your integrated circuit. And it also has a one more add-on module called as HVAC, that is basically heating, ventilation, and air conditioning phenomena for understanding the human comfort parameters, understanding the advanced radiation, solar radiation. We can always make use of heating, ventilation, air conditioning. And the one more design validation solution that we have in our portfolio in desktop product is SolidWorks plastic simulation, where you can simulate the mold flow analysis for your plastic injection molding. The plastics, they are manufactured by making use of the injection molding process. It has the ability to simulate the understanding the weld lines, air traps, multiple gate location simulation, understanding the sink marks, shrinkage, and all the plastic manufacturing functionalities can be analyzed by making use of this particular mold flow simulations inside SolidWorks plastic. Okay. With that, I would like to conclude on this particular webinar. Now I am open to question sessions. If you have any questions, please do type it in our question window. If you have any specific question and if you would like to see a specific demonstration on SolidWorks simulation, SolidWorks flow simulation, SolidWorks plastics, you can always reach us. And these are my contact details. You can always contact to me for any technical clarification on simulation, flow simulation. And if you have any questions, we will just wait for another 5 minutes, and then I will wind up this session. I have one question from Mr. Kiran. Any plans on thermal analysis training in near future? Mr. Kiran, see, along with the this product sales, we also have a training session. Once the product is being purchased, we do provide a training based on your procurement. Kiran here from Ametek. Oh, okay. Kiran, Ametek is already our customers. They are already using SolidWorks Flow simulation. If you would like to know more about our technical training, you can always contact to me, and if we arrange any training sessions, we will reach to you. I have one more question from Manjunath, that is about the meshing capabilities inside SolidWorks. Sir, Mr. Manjunath, when it comes to meshing, there are two types of solvers here. One is a structural solver, that is finite element analysis, where it makes use of tetrahedral elements for 3D elements, triangular elements for 2D elements, and it also has the beam element capabilities. And when it comes to flow simulation, it is basically makes use of a finite volume method, that is OctreMesh, the Cartesian based OctreMesh it will make use of. Mr. Ashwin Sundar has one question. Can we use CFD simulation to check effective mixing of gases in a device? Yes, sir. Of course, it is possible. Inside SolidWorks flow simulation, we have the capability of a free surface as long as you have a two immiscible fluids, whether it is a gas or a fluid, or a liquid and liquid. As long as we have a two immiscible fluids, we can always see the efficiency of the mixing. And if you would like to know more about that, we can have a separate dedicated demonstration for your answer. Any more questions? Okay, that's it. I think once again, thank you so much for all of you, for taking your time out and being a part of this webinar. And again, in case of any specific queries in terms of SolidWorks simulation, SolidWorks flow simulation, SolidWorks plastics, please be in touch with us. We are more than happy to help you. And if you would like to know detailed demonstration, detailed demonstration on any of the products, irrespective of your applications, we are more than happy to help you. And please be in touch with us. With that, I would like to conclude this session. Thank you so much for joining this webinar, and please stay safe. Thank you.